You might not have realized it, but one of the smartest and simplest ways our apps adapt to different screen sizes is with navigation view. Now, you're already familiar with the basic navigation view usage, like this. I could say there's a navigation view here with some text inside, and then say this thing has a title like navigation title primary. And you'll see Hello World in the center with primary in a big chunky font in the top left corner here. Now, what you see, however, depends on a number of contexts. That's what I can see. What you see depends on what you're doing. So right now I have the iPhone 13 Pro simulator selected. So I'll press Command R and build and run my code there. And you can see the same thing I have in the preview. It's exactly the same like this. And when I go to landscape, I'm going to see primary shrink down to small text at the very top, but still Hello World lives in the center like that. That's what I see, because I have the iPhone 13 Pro running here. But if I change my simulator to the iPhone 13 Pro Max, the larger variety, and now press Command R, the same code. Nothing else has changed. I see primary Hello World right here, it hasn't changed. But in landscape, look what happens. This title at the top has gone, Hello World has now gone, and now tapping the word primary makes Hello World slide in from the left, and that's where our title is. So I can go back to here again and see just our menu like that. So that's with the 13 Pro Max, the larger device. On iPad, things get even cleverer. So if I choose here, I want an iPad 12.9 inch, so obviously very big device. Then press Command R. And again, what you see depends on the device you have. So in landscape mode, I'm going to see primary Hello World here on the left with nothing on the right. And pressing this button here will tap or slide in that menu in and out. And then in portrait mode, I have the in and out like I had in the Pro Max phone. And if I try bringing other applications in, if I press up from here, swipe upwards and say, I want to bring in, say, messages, for example, bring this thing here onto the side, then it switches to the left and right mode automatically. If I go to 3/4 view, it will stick with left and right mode with the slider menu. But I go right the way down to hardly any space, then we see primary Hello World. We've switched to the iPhone portrait layout. So there's all sorts of functionality happening here, basically for free. And what you're seeing here is called an adaptive layout. And many of Apple's own apps, like Notes and Mail, the built-in ones, they use it automatically, and it allows iOS to make best use of the screen space depending on a number of factors, exact device size, orientation, model, and so forth, without us having to get involved. It'll just do the right thing for us. And really what's happening for the more complex layouts like this one here is we're getting a primary secondary layout for free. We get a primary view that slides in like that, where we can select from a list of books we've read recently or a list of Apollo missions, for example. And we select from our primary view here. On the right will appear the detail. We'll navigate to detail links on the right here with more details about the book, for example, what review we gave it, or what rating and description, whatever, or more about the Apollo mission we chose, whatever you want to. Now, in our trivial example here, this thing with just text Hello World, SwiftUI interprets this single view as being the primary view in our primary secondary layout. That's why I've given it the title primary. However, if we provide a second view inside here, we get really useful behavior out of the box. So I'll say text Hello World primary, that hasn't changed, and on the right, text secondary, like that. Again, what you see now depends on which device you're running with and which orientation you're running with. I'll choose iPhone 13 Pro Max, that's the phone I use right now. And let's give that a run and see how it looks. So here, in portrait, we see the same thing we had before, primary Hello World. In landscape, we'll see secondary in there. That's the first thing you see. And we press primary, that's when the other view slides in over the way. Now, SwiftUI automatically links these views for us. The primary is designed to navigate towards something in the secondary for us. And so, if we were to say, actually, our left-hand view here is a navigation link. And I'll say when it's pressed, navigate to the text new secondary with the label of text hello world, like that. So the same thing happened before, hello world, except now it's an interactive link, which will show new secondary. This thing will not do what it did previously. It will bring the new view in the secondary window. So again, what you see here depends on which device you're running with and which orientation you're in. Let's try in portrait mode first, the one you're most familiar with, which you'll see, hello world, I press on that, and in slides the view. Exactly the same you'd have any previous project that has not changed. But in landscape, we see new secondary there. So I'll do it again from scratch in landscape this time. You'll see secondary by default. You bring in the primary, press hello world, and it navigates to new secondary in the other view. So it's switching automatically between the sort of push pop behavior and a slide in menu behavior, just the way Notes does, just the way Mail does. It's a very, very common way of thinking in iOS. However, all this magic does have a few drawbacks that I hope will be fixed or at least mitigated in future SwiftUI versions. First, our detail view here, new secondary, this thing does not have a navigation bar. It's going to have one whether you like it or not. You can't say I don't want one. You can't say I want to have a gesture to show the menu, for example. It's always going to have one, so it can add that primary button for us. Secondly, there's no way right now of saying this primary view should always be visible. And that's not the case elsewhere. If I were to go to the home screen and check out settings, for example, this has the same push-pop behavior as we had before. So I can go to general and back again, normal stuff. But in landscape mode, we get the primary secondary layout, and notice how the primary view, this thing here, is always staying visible. And there's no way of doing that in SwiftUI right now. Obviously in UIKit, the underlying framework, you can, but not in SwiftUI just yet. I hope perhaps that'll change in the future. So that's not possible right now. And secondly, right now there is no way of saying, actually, I want to say the first thing you see, the first view you see, is my primary view. Don't show secondary by default. So if this were the Mail app, for example, you can try it on your own phone if you want to. The default view is a message from your mailbox, like some random message or whatever. You've got to swipe to bring the menu out to get the actual list of options of mail to choose from. So SwiftUI will always choose the secondary view here, which is just how it works. So hopefully they'll be addressed in the future. Now I should say, you can, if you want to, add a third view into here. You could have said text tertiary, for example, like that. And this creates a sidebar in iOS. And also on macOS, we have an extra layer of detail. And this exists again in system applications. You'll see Mail and Notes, for example. They'll have, here's your list of notes, but above that is groupings of notes. For example, your iCloud notes or some other notes you want to have, whole folders of notes. And same for your Mail. You can have my inbox or my outbox or VIP sending list, whatever. Folder list, then mail list, then detail of mail. And again, just add the view, it'll do all the work for us in iOS. So I can press back here and then primary, and it kind of slides in hello world, secondary, tertiary, like that. Don't try and do a fourth. Don't go any further than three. Three's more than enough. You get that effect there. And it's actually really, it's designed for iPad. It looks great on iPad and macOS. But it exists on iOS too, as you've seen, but on iPad OS and macOS it's particularly good. Let me hide this little messages window on the side here. So now we're seeing tertiary, secondary, and I press on here, then appears primary temporarily. But they stack up. So the primary one controls secondary, secondary controls the tertiary window here. So it's an extra level of organization for the handful of times you need to have it.